Kunjabihari Gopijana Balava Girivaradhari Gopijana Balava Girivaradhari Shodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Chishodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Chisarana Vrajajana Ranjana Chisarana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balava Giribharadhari Gopi Jana Balava Giribharadhari Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Soranandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sisi Radha Madhava Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So bright. So bright. Okay, we're going to continue reading about Srila Prabhupada from Prabhupada Tributes. Manchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sannivadi Paschati this time. So it looks like I will be in slow motion from time to time still. Internet was supposed to be repaired, but we will see. So I'm going to read an offering by Godbrother. And this offering describes some of the service he did and the letters he got from Prabhupada and just what he went through. I thought it would be nice to inspire us about the sacrifice devotees made to Srila Prabhupada. This disciple's name is Shuddhi. He's from California. He started Krishna consciousness, I think, when he was 17. In a place called Laguna Beach, Prabhupada, we were told, said that many fallen yogis have taken birth in Laguna Beach. It was in Prabhupada's time, it was one, if not the best place for making devotees. There were many little vortexes in America where a lot of people became devotees, and Laguna Beach, which is about 50 miles south of Los Angeles, on the coast. Laguna Beach was a place where many people became devotees. We didn't even have to make them devotees. They just came to the temple and became devotees. So he became a devotee. And so I want to read his offering. It's got a lot of nice points. I am so grateful that you entered my life on January 5th, 1970. when I prayed for a way to develop love of God on my special rock in Laguna Beach. And this is common. Devotees, they're praying to God, please show me, is there a way? Show me you exist. What should I do? When I was praying, I remembered what some of your disciples had told me when I met them. Quote, for real spiritual life, we have to give up illicit sex and intoxication. I remembered those insights that day. I told God I would give up these things if he would send me a way to develop love of God. I had my eyes closed and I wondered how long it would take for my prayer to be answered. I opened my eyes and you had immediately, you had immediately I opened my eyes and you had immediately sent one of your servants to provide me with Krishna consciousness. He was standing there. Well, Krishna promises when you're ready, he'll show up. So you remember the other day, we read that story about the girl who was meditating and praying. And then a flyer came, fell, just blew right on her lap. And she met Prabhupada that day. Remember that story? Yeah. So what's the moral of that story, ladies and gentlemen? Your sincerity brought you to Krishna. Don't give up your sincerity. It's what will keep you here. What brought you here will keep you here. And those miracles will continue. Hare Krishna. Okay. I do not know how I can survive without your personal association. It gives me great pain. Then I realize that I can have your association in so many ways. You used to say that if I am chanting here and you are chanting there, we are still together. In fact, Prabhupada said everyone's together because wherever Krishna exists, all his devotees exist. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we're actually with all the devotees. You say that your books contain your devotional ecstasies. So I spend many hours studying your books. So we're with Prabhupada by chanting. We are associating with him in his books. I get great solace from written instruction and encouragement that you personally sent me. I try to remember them and apply them. So now he's going to describe some things Prabhupada had written him. Quite interesting. You wrote to me that you were very much pleased that I had taken responsibility to preach in South Africa at such a young age of 19. In fact, he ended up eventually being alone in South Africa, the only devotee, the first devotee, among the first devotees, but ended up the only one amongst the first devotees to remain. The others had left, and he was only 19. So there was no movement at that time, no temple. Nothing, just him. So today I try to take up responsibilities to preach and help new people become devotees. I also go back to South Africa. So he was with a few other devotees. They all left. And he was alone. And he wrote Prabhupada, what should I do? And Prabhupada said, stay there. So he stayed. And gradually things happened, you know. You might feel unqualified, but just stay. Just you stay. At least Krishna can do some magic if you stay, right? If you keep your head, if the water comes up to here, at least you can breathe through your nose. You won't die. So just like you may think, I can't do anything. Here I am all alone. At least Krishna can, has you to work through. You wrote to me that somehow or other, I had been left alone by Krishna's arrangement. Your letter encouraged me when I was alone in South Africa for 6 months at 19 years old. It also encourages me now that I am alone. No parents, no brothers, no sisters, no wife. I just have you and my service to you and Krishna. You wrote to me that you were praying to Krishna that I would have the strength and enthusiasm to carry out my preaching mission. I continue to pray this way because without you praying for me, I do not have the strength and enthusiasm to carry on. So what a blessing that the spiritual master prays for the disciple, because we do not feel we have the strength to carry on our own. By the blessings of our spiritual master, the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, the blessings of the Vaishnavas, then we feel there's hope. But by my own strength alone, that's not sufficient. I was just thinking yesterday how we have talked about how deeply rooted material desire is, and sometimes it's more deeply rooted than we realize. And the reason we don't always realize it is because we're engaged in the process of devotional service. Because we're because we're engaged in that process, it's neutralizing the effects of material desire. It's diminishing the effects. And because we have association of devotees and we have a powerful process, we may have material desires, but they don't manifest. We don't feel them. But ladies and gentlemen, if you stop doing that, you will feel them. You will realize how deeply rooted those desires are. And sometimes we get sick. We can't execute Krishna consciousness well. We feel materially contaminated. It's just that we were not able to properly engage in the process. And those desires are there. They're crazy deep, as we would say in America. And we're being protected by the process, but we should never think that because we're doing well, that those desires aren't there. They are. We should just think that because I'm doing sadhana, I'm doing well, and I'm protected from those. Not that they're gone, but I'm not connected with them now. They don't, or they're there, but they don't have much effect. But conditioning is very deep. We came here to be Krishna. That's a pretty intense desire, isn't it? And the manifestation of trying to be Krishna, it comes out in all kinds of ways. Lust and envy and greed. Those are all manifestations of very deeply rooted, intense desires to be Krishna. So they're still there. Of course, they're becoming purified, but it's a slow process. And we're being protected by the process of bhakti. But without that process, those desires will rule our lives. And we should always remember that and never sit back and think, oh, everything's fine. Yeah, when you think like that, Maya will say, oh, great, now I can come and destroy you because you've put your guard down. You wrote to me to chant my 16 rounds and follow 4 regulative principles. This will keep my consciousness pure to engage in devotional service. The minute I awake in the morning, I offer my obeisances to you. And I ask you to direct me to do these things and dedicate my day and my life to your service. I feel your presence in my God brothers and their disciples who are dedicated to your service. I just try to emulate them and assist them. As you said, quote, we will show our love for you by how we cooperate with each other. So he's appreciating the Sangha of his God brothers and how important that is in our devotional service. And also appreciating Prabhupada's instruction when Prabhupada asked us to cooperate. Cooperate doesn't always mean we can work well with everyone, but at least it means we will not disturb others, interfere, criticize, and we will support as best we can. So here's something from a devotee named Rameshwara Das, who was a GBC and also in charge of the BBT during Prabhupada's time. So he had a lot of association with Prabhupada. So I'm just reading one thing he wrote that I thought was interesting. Once, when we were sharing a train car in India. He spoke to me about Lord Ramachandra engaging an army of empowered devotee monkeys to help rescue Srimati Sita Devi from the great demon of the age. You compared that Leela to your coming to the West and engaging monkeys in human dress to help you rescue Lakshmi Devi and bring her back to the service of Sri Krishna. So sometimes Prabhupada would joke that we are his monkey soldiers. Monkeys, he wouldn't consider fighting. Let's go to Afghanistan. I've got 1 million monkeys. I don't know, maybe there are monkey soldiers somewhere. I don't know. But generally, you wouldn't consider fighting a battle with monkeys, would you? No, I don't think so. Generally not. So sometimes Prabhupada would joke with us, but it's actually, of course, for our own humility and reflection, we can feel kind of like useless. What can I do for Prabhupada? But Prabhupada has given us so much, so he expects us to do something. So even I may feel like a monkey or less than a monkey. Still, we've been given both a mission and the instructions how to execute the mission and the ammunition in the form of practices and knowledge. So we should never feel like, well, I'm not qualified, I shouldn't do it. I was just reading maybe we have time. If we have time, I'll read an offering of my godbrother. He wrote an offering about a dream he had with Prabhupada, and he had this doubt that he didn't really feel qualified to be a guru. And Prabhupada spoke to him something really beautiful in a dream. And I won't say what it is because I want to quote him and I don't want to get it mixed up. So if we have time, we'll talk about that. But it's about feeling not qualified and Prabhupada saying, no, I've given you so much. You have to use it. So I know we may all not feel qualified to be really an instrument in Krishna's service, but we are being prepared to be instruments. We are being, there's a word I'm looking for, like when you go to a private school, they teach you, to go to high-end private school, they teach you etiquette, how to use a napkin properly. Not like this, but like this. How to hold a knife and fork properly, how to sit, put the napkin, how to, so they prepare you. There's a word, I can't remember the word. Like they culture you. So we could say that Prabhupada has cultured us, even though we're My Fair Lady, the movie, uncultured. He's cultured us. But we don't feel cultured, so we don't feel so qualified. But he's saying, hey, you've got the money, you've got the car, you've got the people, you've got the books. Go out there, do it. That's, I've given you the qualification. So we'll read that later. So there's one sentence from an offering by a devotee. His name is Jai Jagadish. I thought this was something that may inspire us. Some people have great impact on the world, but their character is flawed or abrasive. Many people are superficially nice.
Muchas personas son superficialmente buenas, pero tienen poco impacto en el mundo. Pocas son las personas que logran cosas y lo hacen con un carácter limpio. Tú eres el ejemplo de esa persona, Srila Prabhupada, porque tú nos enseñaste cómo crear el más grande beneficio en el mundo y al mismo tiempo con pureza. ¿Alguna vez han pensado así? Yo puedo hacer este servicio, no es un problema. Yo yo me entrené a mí mismo, pero hacerlo en la conciencia de Krishna, ser bueno con todos, respetar a todos, mientras hago ese servicio, eso es difícil. O lo otro es que puedo ser bueno, puedo ser amable, pero no voy a hacer el servicio. Porque si hago el servicio me vuelvo como un león. Esta es la cualificación que estamos tratando de lograr. Es bueno si haces una cosa, pero no es muy bueno si no haces ambas cosas. Ese es el reto. Es más fácil hacer el servicio que ser consciente de Krishna. Y Prabhupada definitivamente quiere que hagamos los dos. De hecho, yo le escribí una carta. Yo estaba pensando, yo no puedo yo puedo hacer solo una cosa, y él dijo no. Tú terminas el servicio, pero ¿cuál es tu conciencia? ¿Cuál era tu conciencia? ¿Cómo lidiaste con eso? Pero yo lo hice, yo hice este servicio, soy muy feliz. Sí, y todos dejaron el templo después de que hiciste ese servicio. Hay una historia en la que un devoto presidente del templo estaba sirviendo mucho prasadam. Mal prasadam. De hecho, los perros ni siquiera se lo comían. Y le decía a Prabhupada, yo solo estoy tratando de ahorrar dinero. ¿Tú crees que yo estoy complacido de que estés tratando a los devotos de esta forma? Todos tienen hambre y están enfermos y están enojados, pero al menos ahorramos dinero, Prabhupada. Felicidades. Hemos visto estas cosas. En el nombre del servicio, ofendemos a los devotos. ¿Han visto eso antes? Nos volvemos insensibles. Solo haz esto y cállate. Lo único que haces es quejarte. Pero no me interesa, solo vea y ya está. Por supuesto, eso pasaba cuando éramos más jóvenes, pasionales, tontos y malentendíamos todo. Y aunque hayamos ofendido a todas las entidades vivientes haciendo eso, Prabhupada nunca enseñó eso. Solo quiero apuntar esa realidad, que él nunca hizo eso. Había notado un número de páginas. Voy a deleitarlos porque vamos a leer un poema. Y este es un poema que resume la visita de Prabhupada a Australia. Y van a poder escucharlo todo. Creo que el poema este es el título, pero parece que el título es un Rolls Royce no es suficiente. 1974. Creo que esta era una crítica de un reportero. Porque le dieron un Rolls Royce a Prabhupada. Debes de tratar al gurú como Dios, y el Rolls Royce es como una medalla. Un maestro espiritual. Él quería sacudir las cosas. Aquí está el poema. Siéntense y relájense.
Early morning airport greeting. Devotees chant their
Un saludo
hearts a beating.
en una mañana en el aeropuerto. Los devotos una visita en la que planea más misericordia.
Alitalia, touchdown, drums of thunder. Surely this time no arrival blunder.
Los tambores como truenos
from a different gate. Where are the
de
devotees?
otra diferente puerta. ¿Dónde están los devotos? No hay tiempo para esperar.
You walk along the corridor.
Tú caminas solo en el corredor hasta que notamos y nosotros llegamos, tocamos el piso.
The cynosure of moistened eyes. Prabhupada, now tears are flowing.
Prabhupada y todas
las
lágrimas caen.
Love for us, your eyes shine like
Con amor por nosotros tus ojos brillan.
Madhuvisa, ever forthright, shares the schedule with delight. Press lounge is next. Please walk this way. Roaring kirtan.
Y un kirtan
spray.
Y los pétalos son aventados. Los cártalos suenan.
Unabashed. Locomotive of love. Thundering loud, sweeping through bewildered crowd.
De luz y la muchedumbre está impresionada.
We settle quietly on the floor.
Nos quedamos en silencio en el pie, en el piso.
Aristocratic, bright, unfazed by taxi, long hauling flight. Months in Bombay, and now you're here.
Y ahora estás aquí.
Paramahansa, smiling ear to ear. No
sonriendo de oreja a oreja.
Adjusted. Some
los
friendly,
micrófonos,
some a bit disgusted.
Los micrófonos se ajustan.
Kneeling close, a boisterous band. Your moistened eyes slowly scan the room. We gaze back, awe and love abloom. You scrutinize each and every face.
cada
Contented
cara.
Loving grace.
Contento con tu amorosa gracia.
Your cane propped up, quietly chanting.
Tu bastón
on your beads,
va
your
con
love
tu
implanting each of
canto
us
silencioso.
with causeless mercy, transcending press club
sin causa.
controversy. Hostile questions begin apace. I've got a
Muchas
question,
preguntas
Your
empiezan.
Divine Grace.
Tengo una pregunta, su divina gracia.
Why do your followers
¿Por qué
bow
tus
and
seguidores
what's more,
dan
press their
reverencias
faces to the floor?
y ponen su cara en el piso?
Interrogation, brusque, aggressive,
La interrogación agresiva.
rude. Yet you're unfazed by envious mood. Fearless and sober, your answer is bold. Bye-bye, your demeanor,
tus respuestas son
a joy to
directas.
behold.
Son
Please listen, hear me carefully, for what I'm going to speak. The kingdom of God is open.
El reino
for the
de Dios
humble
está
and
abierto
the meek. You
para
ask
el
why they
humilde.
prostrate themselves, heads humbly to the floor. I'm teaching them humility.
Yo estoy
essential.
enseñándoles
And
en la
what's
humildad
more, I
esencial
help them to
y los
progress
estoy
towards
ayudando
God
a progresar
by
hacia
bowing
Dios.
humble
Yo
acts.
estoy
I have to collect obeisances
Yo
as
tengo
a
que
taxman
colectar
collects tax.
reverencias
Stunned,
como
amazed at
un
your
hombre
reply. For
que
sure, you're
colecta
not going to
impuestos.
humbly comply with irreverent aggressors. Irreverent aggressors want to dig dirt. The absolute truth.
Los agresores quieren
Another
desenterrar
reporter, equally
tierra.
cynical,
Otro
unaware of
reportero
transcendence and
cínico.
matters Brahminical. Your Grace, I'm wondering if you have
Gracias,
any
estoy
idea
preguntando si
of the
tienes
vast
idea
sums of money you raise in a
de
year.
las grandes cantidades,
You grin like a warrior,
cantidades
challenged to
de
fight.
dinero que has
Krishna's
recaudado.
dear soldier, not taking flight. Your answer, a victory,
Una
banner
respuesta, una victoria. Podemos gastar todo el dinero del mundo.
Haribol,
Haribol, Haribol.
Uncompromising, you've
Sin
scored a goal.
comprometer.
The added riposte is sweeter than honey. Unfortunately, you do not give us the money. That's what he said to the man.
Eso es lo que le dijo al hombre.
He said, we can spend all the
Que
money.
podemos gastar
Unfortunately,
todo.
you do not give us the money.
todo el dinero del mundo, pero no nos dan todo el dinero del mundo.
The reporters unsatisfied glare with sour looks. How much, cries one lady, like a jackal at feast. You reply, 800,000 per month at least. Getting a feel of what it's like to be with Prabhupada?
¿Tienen un sentimiento ahora de cómo era estar con Prabhupada?
A female reporter then asks with a smirk, tell us now,
ahora,
do you actually work?
Dinos, ¿tú de hecho trabajas?
Is offense. This
la mejor ofensa es la defensa. De hecho, estamos trabajando mucho más duro que tú. Yo he viajado alrededor de todo el mundo. Tus respuestas vienen rápido a persuadir.
Outrage that Krishnas could grossly misspend your grace, inferring financial foul play. A Rolls Royce is waiting to whisk you away, expecting your response to be apologetic. You're supposed to be living.
Deberías estar viviendo.
You're supposed to be a living aesthetic. You meet with this challenge at Kshatriya Spar. We don't disapprove of a luxury car.
No desaprobamos de un carro lujoso. Tú nunca piensas pequeño. Usas todo para Krishna y realmente eso es todo. Y el reportero, estándose seguro, no son estas pretensiones. Si me das un Rolls Royce, ¿por qué yo lo rechazaría? Es mi favor es un favor para ti que ahora lo puedo usar. Y el silencio reinó. El Guru representa al Señor Supremo. La verdad absoluta, como la misericordia. La entrevista termina y tú con una sonrisa te vas de ahí.
What is this Rolls Royce? Tin, rubber, and wood.
¿Qué es este Rolls Royce? Sino simplemente lámina y hule.
Rolls Royce is not enough.
El Rolls Royce no es suficiente.
Though they all want hot scandal, you give cool-headed facts.
Tú das, aunque ellos vienen hacia ti, tú das hechos fríos.
Prabhupada,
tú me salvaste de muchas vidas. Estos pasatiempos atraen mi mente el día de hoy. Aquí estoy humildemente orando, soy tuyo, mi Señor. Por favor, nunca me dejes vagando lejos de tus fragantes pies de lotos.
Wow. Now you know get a little taste of what it's like to be with Prabhupada.
Ahora pueden saber un poquito de cómo era estar con Prabhupada.
Was that nectar or was that nectar?
¿Eso fue néctar o néctar?
What that was like.
Imagínense cómo era eso.
One time.
Una vez.
Someone asked Prabhupada what it's like to be a pure devotee.
Alguien le preguntó a Prabhupada cómo es ser un devoto puro.
Y él dijo, experiencing when you chant Hare Krishna? Prabhupada said, fearless. He said, I have no fear.
Y él decía que cuando cantaba él experimentaba que él no tenía miedo.
We don't want to blow away people, etc., but sometimes Prabhupada
a veces Prabhupada
did that, challenged them.
Él retaba a las personas.
There was a story I may have told you before.
Creo que hay una historia que ya les conté antes. Prabhupada fue invitado a un programa de televisión. Y este hombre era famoso por insultar a las personas. Y le dijeron eso a Prabhupada. Y el hombre dijo, Swamiji, ¿qué pasaría si todos en el mundo se volvieran conscientes de Krishna? Y Prabhupada dijo, Y él dijo, "Oh, no te preocupes, hay tontos como tú que nunca se volverían devotos". Él era humilde, pero al mismo tiempo, eso no significa que no fuera directo.
He's not out of some kind of false ego trying to get one up on somebody.
Él no estaba tratando de hacer eso fuera por su ego falso, sino quería poner a las personas en su lugar. Y él les está dejando saber que él es un maestro espiritual, que deberían de aprender de él. ¿Les gustó ese poema?
Wow.
Fantástico.
That was just like 20 minutes with Prabhupada.
Eso fueron como 20 minutos con Prabhupada.
Purify lifetimes of
muy
Maya.
Néctar, purificando vidas de Maya de nuestro corazón, ¿no es así?
Hare Krishna. Yes. Prabhupada kind of was the personification of the person who would say it like it is.
Prabhupada es la personificación de las personas que dicen decirlo como es.
This is how it is, and I'm going to say it.
Así es como es y así lo voy a decir.
Okay, we have another something. This is
Tenemos algo más.
from a letter.
Esta es de una carta.
The devotee writing this is Narayani. In her offering, she said when she was young, her goal was to read every book in the library. And then she came upon Prabhupada's books.
Ella se encontró con los libros de Prabhupada
that changed everything.
Y eso cambió todo.
And she, for many years, has been a teacher.
Por muchos años, ella ha sido maestra.
Previous to what I'm going to read, she had read a quote we read on Balaram's appearance day about how.
Y previo a lo que voy a leer, ella había leído una cita del día de aparición de Balaram.
So she quotes a letter. I thought we should read it.
Cita una carta. Creo que vamos a leerla porque está llena de cosas importantes.
Without reading books, it becomes
Sin leer
hackneyed,
libros,
and such obnoxious ideas trouble us.
Estas ideas perturbadoras nos molestan.
Writing to Prabhupada about their thoughts that were disturbing them.
Esta devota le estaba hablando a Prabhupada sobre sus pensamientos que le estaban perturbando y cómo iban en el proceso. Nuestras mentes siempre están cambiando, esa es la naturaleza de la mente. No puedes esperar que las personas santas están libres de que los pensamientos vengan y vayan. Luego los pensamientos son puestos en acción. Si somos capaces de emplear nuestra inteligencia, entonces podemos matar a los pensamientos antes de que se manifiesten en actividades. Pero porque estamos muy inclinados a disfrutar algo, tenemos que afilar nuestra inteligencia todos los días y con ello a predicarles a otros. De esta forma vamos a poder fácilmente derrotar a todos los retos en nuestra filosofía. Y esto se va a aclarar. Krishna nos hace una prueba de que si uno es sincero, que le va a dar la inteligencia a los devotos para que puedan llegar a él. Por ello debemos orar que Krishna nos provea de la inteligencia para matar todos los demonios de la duda. Y debido a que él entiende el corazón del devoto sincero, inmediatamente él da apoyo. Por mi parte, yo estoy absolutamente seguro de que cualquiera que me rete, yo lo voy a derrotar. ¿Por qué? Porque Krishna me da la inteligencia. Está revelando unos puntos aquí. Prabhupada está haciendo este punto de que yo he hecho anteriormente, que es estamos profundamente condicionados más de lo que pensamos. El primer punto que está haciendo Prabhupada, o segundo, es que la mente es un problema.
how are you going to deal with this problem?
¿Y cómo vas a lidiar con este problema?
One minute you're doing well, and the next
minuto
minute the
estás
mind comes up with
bien y en otro instante viene la mente
that are
y con
taking us
unos
away from Krishna.
pensamientos
So
y
how are you going
nos
to deal with this?
aleja de Krishna. ¿Cómo
Prabhupada's
vamos a
talking
lidiar
about
con
thinking,
esto?
feeling, and willing.
Así que
So,
Prabhupada está
thinking
hablando
is
de
can be a
pensar y tener
problem.
la
Feeling
voluntad
is a
y
problem,
sentir.
but not really a problem until you actually do what you're thinking and feeling.
Sentir
But
no
just
es un
thinking and feeling
problema
and not
hasta que
acting,
haces lo que
it's a
piensas,
problem,
lo
but
que
not a
piensas y
major
lo que
problem because
sientes.
you're in control. Excuse me, I went to bed.
Discúlpeme, me fui a dormir muy tarde.
Oh yeah, we're working on a song.
Estaba
We're going to have a song like we did the
una
Radharani
canción
song
como el de
English, but
Radharani,
we're doing the Damodar song
pero
in
vamos a
Sanskrit
hacer
and English.
el de Damodar
11 o'clock last night.
en sánscrito y
And
en inglés.
unfortunately, I had 7 rounds left.
Desafortunadamente
So that took me till midnight.
tenía 7 rondas y eso me llevó hasta la
I just had to get
medianoche.
this done.
Yo solo
Damodar's
necesito
coming up.
terminar esto.
So I went to bed at midnight. So yeah, okay. So excuse me for that.
Ok, discúlpenme por eso.
Falling asleep on you, at least yawning on you. So Prabhupada's saying thinking, feeling, and willing. But if we employ our intelligence, then we can stop the thought before it comes to the willing stage.
Podemos detener
And so the idea here is she's been talking about the benefit of
pensamiento
reading.
antes de que llegue a
So she's just
la
citing this
etapa
as an example of
de llevarlo a
what
cabo.
reading does is it sharpens the intelligence.
Lo que hace la inteligencia es que afila, lo que hace la lectura
Hare
es que afila la inteligencia.
Because we're so inclined to enjoy,
Y debido a que estamos muy inclinados a disfrutar,
so
Prabhupada nos dice, el deseo de ponernos a nosotros en la posición de disfrutador.
We call people intelligent, maybe IQ or some other forms of intelligence, but spiritual intelligence is
la inteligencia espiritual es ver,
to be able to see clearly,
es ver claramente.
Devotional service is my be all and end all, and that because I'm not a physical being. The effort to enjoy this body is actually a sign of it's useless and a sign of
el esfuerzo de disfrutar este cuerpo.
So, women are less intelligent. Everybody's less intelligent.
Las mujeres son menos inteligentes.
This whole idea of women less
Toda
intelligent
esta idea de que la mujer es menos inteligente es la idea tradicional
and women tended to be weaker
de
because they were more materially attached. Where do you find such strong men these days?
De que un hombre era muy avanzado espiritualmente.
So the idea is intelligence means you can
inteligencia
understand
significa
how to act spiritually.
Cómo actuar espiritualmente.
Prabhupada saying due to our conditioning,
y debido a nuestro condicionamiento, la inteligencia
sharp and dull. So hearing sharpens the intelligence.
Escuchar afila la inteligencia.
And that way, when we have these
y de esa forma, cuando tenemos estos pensamientos locos que vienen de la nada, la inteligencia está afilada.
And then Prabhupada,
y luego
kind of switches
Prabhupada
the
cambia
Krishna is the source of intelligence. He will give us
y dice Krishna es la fuente de la inteligencia
to fight our way
y nos da la inteligencia
material thoughts and feeling and willing. And then he goes on to say that he has to preach to so many intelligent, educated people, and Krishna gives him the intelligence to defeat them.
Él tuvo que derrotar a muchas personas inteligentes y Krishna le dio la inteligencia para poder hacer eso. Tenemos que leer para afilar la inteligencia y Krishna nos da ese conocimiento. Solo tengo una cosa más que leer. Si tienen preguntas o comentarios, pueden ponerlos.
Voy
a leer. Este es de mi hermano espiritual. sobre un sueño.
It's an interesting dream. He's a great
Es
writer,
un
so I'll read the
sueño
whole
interesante.
thing. And
Él
then
es
we'll
un gran
discuss this
escritor.
one point of what Prabhupada said to him.
Y luego vamos a discutir el punto de lo que le dijo
Your
Prabhupada.
divine grace came in a dream.
Su divina
Something
gracia
you
vino
hardly ever do.
en
We were
mis
walking in
sueños,
Mayapur.
lo que
A ground floor
hacía
window
raramente.
opened. You stopped to
Estábamos
chat in
caminando
Bengali.
en Mayapur.
Then you stepped back. A tree's root caught your foot. You fell into me, and then I into you, and we both toppled to the path.
Y yo
I upon your
caí
chest,
sobre
mortified.
usted y usted sobre
But
mí.
you were smiling,
Y usted estaba,
softly glowing.
estaba
Then your
sonriendo.
silent glance pierced like lightning.
Y su
It's been 50 years since I
vista
gave you
sobre mí
shelter.
era como un
When
trueno.
will you give shelter to others?
¿Cuándo va a
Abashed,
dar?
I awoke.
Le me preguntó,
Prabhupada.
¿cuándo vas a dar refugio a otros? Y yo desperté. Srila
Let's read the rest.
Vamos a leer el resto de cómo él amplía este punto.
Like how long are you going to go on thinking,
¿Cuánto
I'm not qualified to do this?
más vas a continuar diciendo que no estás cualificado para hacer
The
esto?
day I returned home from
El día que yo regresé
appendectomy at the hospital, where I'd gone from a spry 73 to a bag of bones attached to wires. I had to drag to the toilet feeling 93. Now it felt so good to sprawl in my own bed, though I had to take a painkiller. Your dream came as I was emerging from deep sleep. Your smiling glance assuring me
este sueño que
that
tuve con
everything
usted
was
vino.
all right. But also that old age was coming on fast, that this was just the beginning of the end, hence your question. Will you ever give shelter to others? So
¿Alguna
I'll
vez
end here because
darás
it
refugio a
goes off
otros?
a
Él
bit to
continúa
another point.
hacia otro punto.
Well, actually, not so much. He's basically saying,
Él
you
está
know, I
básicamente
didn't feel
diciendo,
qualified to
yo no
do
me
this. I
sentía
didn't think others felt that I was
cualificado.
qualified.
Yo sentí que otros
And
sentían que no
asking
estaba
me
cualificado.
to do this.
Y él me
How
estaba
can I do
pidiendo
this?
hacer esto y yo sentía que cómo podía
And
hacerlo.
so, you know, all the fears that come from taking responsibility,
todos los miedos
go
que
into his
vienen de
head
tomar responsabilidades
and
estaban ahí.
just trying
Yo
to
estaba tratando
put it off, thinking, you know, I'm not able to do this.
tratando de posponerlo,
And
diciendo que no
so,
podía hacer esto.
The statement I liked in
La
this
afirmación en este punto fue
this statement Prabhupada's asking, when will you give shelter to others?
¿cuándo vas a darle refugio a otros?
There's a statement. You may have heard this statement.
A lo mejor han
If
escuchado
not now, when?
esto.
If
Si
not
no,
you, who?
si no es
Have you heard
ahora,
that before?
¿cuándo?
I
Si
think it
no
was
eres tú,
the
¿quién?
President of the United States said that. It's good advice.
Creo que fue el presidente de los Estados Unidos quien dijo
Yeah,
eso.
you
Es
know, I
un buen
really
consejo.
need to. You
Oh,
ever said that? You know, I really need
realmente
to.
necesito y llenar el espacio en blanco.
Yeah. I think we've all said it a lot. So that addresses, well, if not now, when?
Eso aborda, si no es ahora,
And if
¿cuándo?
not, me, who addresses it? Oh, someone else will do it.
Oh, no, alguien más lo va a hacer.
Prabhu, this temple has got a lot of problems. Yeah, someone else will fix it.
Prabhupada, este templo tiene muchos
that.
problemas. ¿Tienes alguien más que lo pueda reparar?
You know, they should, you know, the temple should do this.
Oh, sí, el templo debe de hacer esto. El GBC debe de hacer esto. Los devotos deberían hacer esto. Pero ¿cuándo vas a hacerlo? ¿Vas a pasar toda tu vida pensando en eso o lo vas a hacer? Si no eres tú, ¿quién? En un sentido, Srila Prabhupada está diciendo esta afirmación de que nunca vas a estar completamente listo. Oh, lo voy a hacer cuando esté listo. Necesito tomar más clases. Necesito cambiar mi dieta antes de hacerlo.
You'll never be ready. Also,
nunca vas a estar
in
listo.
writing, in music, in art, you're never finished. You'll never be ready and you'll never be finished.
Incluso en música,
you got to
todo.
let the painting go at some point. You can't paint forever, right? And it's painful. It's okay, you know. I could paint this, I could work on this for another year, right? Yes? I'm working on a song now, and I'm trying to get it done very quickly.
Estoy trabajando en una canción y estoy tratando de hacerlo lo más rápido posible. Yo podría pasar un mes haciéndolo fácilmente.
So, we have a problem on both ends.
Tenemos un problema en ambas partes. No estamos listos.
Once I start, I'm not ready to finish it.
Y una vez que empiezo, yo no estoy listo para terminar.
So, now you might say, well, you know, this is relating to him as guru. This is like not, this doesn't relate to us. But you can relate to it in your own way, you know, with the service that you feel Krishna would like you to do, or is calling you to do, or you have some feeling that you should be doing something and you feel, really qualified. But it's possible in 50 years, you'll feel the same way. So I'll meet you in 50 years and I go, did you start that service? Well, I don't really feel qualified. Prabhu, it's 50 years. Yeah, I know, but I don't really feel qualified. You know. The thing of it is that is not how Prabhupada engaged us. We didn't turn in resumes. He didn't look at our, well, you know, he's going to be the temple president. What university? How many years? What's his grade point average? How many classes on management did he take? Prabhupada didn't do that. So Prabhupada's mood was more that if you are willing to follow sincerely the process of Krishna consciousness and work sincerely, then within the process, Krishna will guide you. He will give you the ability, the intelligence you need to do the service. You just have to be willing. So that's the proper attitude. And I like this offering because especially the service of Guru, it's a big service, it's a big responsibility. And so it's understandable that someone would be reluctant, as he's expressing here. Me? Who are you trying to kid? Me? A guru? Come on. He's often known as Uncle S, Sureshwar Prabhu. It's Uncle S. And then he writes later, who would think Uncle S as a guru? No way. But Prabhupada comes in the dream and it's like, what are you waiting for? You know, you're waiting to die. And it's like, you don't have that much longer to live. And these people, and I gave you shelter and you don't want to give them shelter. So our duty is to give what we get, and you've all been given shelter. So it's your duty to give. I was doing a forgiveness course, and this devotee made a beautiful comment. He said, you know, we're here in this course because we're reluctant to forgive, but we've been forgiven by Krishna, by Prabhupada. So if we've been forgiven, it is naturally our duty, our position, to give that to others. How can we take the forgiveness and not give it to others? So in the same way, how can we take what Prabhupada has given in terms of his love, his affection, his knowledge, his guidance, the sadhana, and not give it? That should be the thought, that it's our duty to give. So you can all step up to the plate. And we all have to be guru. Guru means teacher. We have to take responsibility for people who are younger than us, all of you. You're getting older every day. Did you notice? Have you looked in the mirror lately? Yeah, every day you're getting older. No, I don't look in the mirror anymore. It's too depressing. Yeah, every day we're getting older. So that means older and wiser, I hope. And so every day you're getting older. You're every day you're one day older than the person who's going to join ISKCON whenever they join it. Every day you're one day more experienced than that person who's going to join. So we all have this responsibility to be examples and give what we've been given, no matter how unqualified we are. And I mean, obviously you have to have some qualification, but no matter how unqualified you think you are. And the real beauty of giving is that once you start giving, you live it better yourself. And once you start giving, you feel, well, I'm giving this, I have to follow it. And so giving it is a great blessing. One of the greatest blessings you can give yourself is to give Krishna consciousness to others. So I think that's all I had prepared for today. Let me just go down a little bit and see if there's anything else. I think this is it. Actually, there might be something else if you're lucky. Just give me a moment. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No, that's it. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, we could start our japa class early. So P has a question. Was this from last week? We didn't finish, or not from today. Do we have any questions from last week? We didn't answer? No? Okay. Those words about being alone in South Africa brought tears to my eyes. This was exactly what I needed to hear. I am the only one here, and it's far to the closest temple. It's strange and a flight. It's a struggle and a flight. But all your lessons and words and all the digital content I can have with other devotees help me. Compared to being the only one in the whole of South Africa, my situation is probably very easy. Yeah, and there was no ISKCON either. ISKCON, when he was in South Africa, there were probably like 25 temples in the whole world. And no temples in South Africa. Thank you so much for talking hope to me every day. Yeah, I like this point because, you ever sit back and think, oh, my life is so hard, until you hear about someone else's life who's about 10 million times more difficult than your life. And then you realize, actually, my life is not so hard. You ever have that experience? They say that the way we live in the modern age is on the similar level of luxury, even an average person, to how kings lived hundreds of years ago. Did you know? Have you ever heard that before? And now that we have apps, that of course no king has ever had at his fingertips, so much control. Yeah, but before the Industrial Revolution, nobody had money. People were living locally off the land. There was no, stock market, real estate investment, manufacturing. It was all quite simple. People lived an austere life. So apparently, it was only a few very wealthy people and the kings that lived a comfortable life. Everyone else, go outside, get your water, no heat, no air conditioning, et cetera, bang your clothes on a rock to wash them, like village life we see in India. And so apparently it was only the kings that had the kind of comforts that we have today. Isn't it nice to hear about that? When you're at this point, you think, my life is so bad. It's so miserable. Yeah, right. All right. You're right. You had to go walk a mile to get water today and then heat it up to take a bath in an ice cold room. Is that how bad it is? And then you had to be up at 5 o'clock sweeping up cow dung and milking the cows. Anybody do that this morning? Milk the cows, sweep the dung, pick the weeds. I've been up all morning picking the weeds in my phone. So we just go into the room and turn on the water. Totally take it for granted. Right? Water just runs. And you turn on the other knob, it's hot. Yeah. right? And then hit the little button and the heat goes up, or the air conditioning. Yeah. So, but I think also even more than this, to hear about the sacrifices devotees make is really inspiring. And we could say important. Because to make sacrifice is difficult. It's not difficult to make sacrifice for our own pleasure, but to make sacrifice for Guru and Krishna, sometimes Maya just wants to put doubt in our mind about it. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you giving up so much? And this is so hard. And can you do it? And how long will it last? And you're just suffering and you don't even like it. So why are you doing it? You know, on and on and on. And then you hear a story about a devotee who made huge sacrifices, who gave up so much. And it was just an ordinary devotee, nobody special, just another Prabhu. Just another God brother, God sister, God nephew, God niece, God uncle, God aunt, just, coming from the same background. Just another devotee with the same background, doing amazing service, making amazing advancement. Yeah, it's just so important, so inspiring. Have you ever been inspired by someone when you just, like, were having difficulty and just some average Bhakta Joe is doing some really serious chanting or serious service and it just shook you up? Has that ever happened to you before? Just, just some simple devotee, nobody even pays attention to that devotee, and you could see that devotee they're so humble, or they're so sincere, or they're so surrendered, or so whatever, so something that I lack. Yeah, that's important. That's why Sangha is important, because in Sangha, there's always somebody that has something that we lack that can inspire us. And we need to see that, isn't it? A lot of times, Maya will make us think something's not possible. And how do we get the faith to do it? Well, one of the ways, maybe the easiest way, is we see someone like ourselves doing it. And so now, how can you like overlook that and say, I can't do it, it's impossible, when someone who maybe you would consider not so advanced, not as advanced as you, is doing it? You see in the world of sports or the world of business or practically in anything, there are people who set new standards in those areas. They broke through and did things that no one had ever done before. And once they did it, everybody did it. Like rock and roll music was coming of age when I was young. So if you listen to the music of like the 60s and how accomplished the musicians were, especially the guitarists, and you listen to any like 13-year-old today who's been playing guitar for a year or two, he can play as good or better than them. Because in that era, somebody stood up as a outstanding guitarist and showed what was possible. And then everybody just copied it, started doing it, because not only copied it, but showed that it could be done. That's how it works, isn't it? Right? You have here are the icons in any sport. Who are the trendsetters in golf, in tennis, in basketball, in football, in boxing, in surfing, in skiing? You can just go down and say, when this person came on the scene, he introduced a new way to do this, everything changed. Isn't it? So this band came and no one played music like that before. It changed everything. So when we see a devotee, like there's some devotees, they're Mangalartik every day. They have like 28 kids. Their husbands like nasty. they work 3 jobs, and they're a Mangalarti. They're like, oh my God, I don't have any kids. I have a nice husband. I'm not even working, and I can't get myself out of bed that early. It's just like, it talks to you, doesn't it? It's like, it talks to you, and you're basically talking to yourself. That's the power of association, isn't it? Once when my daughter was very young, she was probably like 7 or something, or 6, like super young, not more than 8, probably 6 or 7. She said to me, it was John Mastami, she said, I'm going to Mangalarti. I said, all right. After Mangalarti, she's walking around the temple, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, and everybody's coming up to me and saying, you see your daughter? And I said, no, she's chanting really seriously. So when when you see a 6 or 7-year-old, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, how does that make you feel? Right? It's like, well, if a 6-year-old can do it, I should be able to do it. If a 6-year-old can chant 16 rounds, I should be able to do it. Sometimes we do japa workshops for kids. And some of these kids will say, I'm 12 and I chant 16 rounds every day. How does that make you feel? I'm like, yeah, it makes us feel like if I don't chant 16 rounds, I'm not even as good as a 12-year-old. Like, isn't it? Or you're in a music store and there's a 12-year-old and he's playing the keyboard like, oh my God, you can't play that well. A 12-year-old can do it. I should be able to do it, right? Or that funny joke when this guy was in Sweden and he was trying to learn the language, and he couldn't understand what people were saying, and a guy was teaching his dog tricks and sit down, stand up, do this. And the guy was thinking, that dog understands Swedish. So, if he can understand it, I should be able to understand it, right? It's kind of fun. Oh, I could never learn Russian. Well, the dogs in Russian, they understand. I could never understand Chinese. The Chinese dogs understand, You're not as smart as a dog. So, yeah, that's the value of Sangha. So, it's good. Sometimes devotees intimidate us. They're not trying to, but their bhakti intimidates us in a good way. So, Tanya, is this from you or is this from Facebook? From you. Is it possible that some service is really over our head, but we're driven by our false ego to try to do it? When we feel overwhelmed by some service, how do we know if it's something we need if it's something we need to do despite our feelings of inadequacy, or something we're really not fit for? Well, this is a subjective answer, and I don't know if there's one objective answer, but we did have a problem in our movement, hopefully not anymore, that when we opened schools, the devotees who worked in the school in the early days were often your Sankirtan dropouts. Well, I can't go out anymore in Sankirtan. I'm burned out and I can't do it. Okay, we'll put you in the school. Rather than actually look for qualified people or train qualified people, we'll just put you in the school. So obviously, that's not a job that you just put anybody in, right? It's like, Tanya, you want to get married? I got a brahmachari. What's he like? I don't know. He's a man. He walks, he talks. You want a man, right? So that would be irresponsible of me, wouldn't it? Speaks English. You speak English. That should be good enough, right? So if I'm being put in charge of people, then I would say I would be cautious about trying to stretch beyond my capabilities if there's any potential liabilities there for others. Now, sometimes it just may be your thinking that you actually are qualified, and you think you're not. Now, so if everybody's telling you, no, Tanya, you can do this, you can be a teacher, you can be a temple president, we see you, we know you, we definitely see your capabilities, then in that case, if they're all okay with it and they have confidence in you, then yeah, go for it, right? In a case where if you fail, there's no real collateral damage, then why not go for it? Because if you succeed, you succeed. And if you succeed, it will build tremendous strength and faith in you. And it will, not faith in you yourself, it'll help you develop faith in Krishna, that he empowered you. So now, there's also a third option. I want to do this. I'm not sure. Maybe I could study how to do it. Maybe I could learn so that I can actually do it. Maybe I want to be a great singer, but I can't sing. All right, take singing lessons. Let's see what happens. If that's really something, I really want to break out of my limitation because I've never been a good singer and I feel like I have it in me. Okay, make sure you sing in a closet while you're practicing so you don't disturb anybody's chakras, and go for it. Take lessons. And if your singing teacher says, well, I think you'd probably do better as an engineer than a singer, then take that cue. But if she says no, you can do it, and go with it. Why not? So I think you're combining practical with spiritual. So, obviously, let's say you're not really good in languages and you don't have a good memory and you actually are not academically inclined, but you just feel like I should learn Sanskrit. And, it could take you a month to do what someone good in language could do in a day. And that just practically would probably be a waste of time and energy. Whereas you're really good at farming, you have experience. All right, take care of the farm. Why not do that? That's fine. You don't have to be a Sanskrit scholar. So, then it's combining self-confidence, ego, I need to be a Sanskrit scholar to prove to myself that I can do it, So, well, is that really necessary? Or is that just coming from false ego? I wanted to learn Sanskrit. I still do, but I probably never will because I don't think I could learn it that fast. And I don't know why I have the time, but who knows? Maybe in my ripe old age, I'll learn it. But I had written, Prabhupada said, can we learn Sanskrit or should we learn Sanskrit? Because early in the beginning, Prabhupada was teaching Sanskrit a little bit. And Prabhupada said, if you could easily learn it, if there's time, why not? He said, but our goal is not to be Sanskrit scholars, although we do need some devotees who are Sanskrit scholars for their services. But in general, it's not necessary. It's nice. You can actually understand Shastra more deeply if you understand Sanskrit. You could also misunderstand it more deeply if you understand Sanskrit. We've seen both. So I never pursued it because I was good in languages, but it didn't seem like a priority. There was another time we wanted to get a farm. And of course, as you know, Prabhupada really pushed farming. So we were looking for a farm, but couldn't really find one. We didn't know how we'd get the money. And I wrote to Prabhupada, who approved of us looking for the farm. I said, we're spending a lot of time looking and we've stopped our Sankirtan activities while we're looking, and I'm also not sure where the money will come from. He said, then just stop it. So, you always, anything you're doing, even if it's a spiritual pursuit, you also have to consider practicalities on the ground. But personally, for me, I have always found it extremely, I would even say important for me to stretch out of the box. Because what happens is when you stretch out of the box, once you stretch, you're stretched. And now you can stretch to the next level. So you're growing that way. And a lot of times you don't realize that you could do something. And once you finally do it, it builds faith that, well, there's probably other things that I thought I couldn't do that I can, that I should try to do. So, it's like, my Guru Maharaj said, I could do anything. I just have the faith. So I'm buying an airplane and I'm going to fly it, get in the airplane tomorrow, and I'm going to jump in and fly it tomorrow. Like, no, I don't think so. You should learn how to fly it. So, don't be what we call in America an airhead. An airhead has no brains in their head, just air. That would be Bhakta Airhead's, plan. I'm going to fly the airplane tomorrow. But, you could go into that and say, I have this fear of heights and I want to overcome it. And I never saw myself as a pilot, but I want to have faith that I can do something I didn't think I could do. I'm going to pilot school. I'm going to see if I could do it. So if you actually did it and flew an airplane, you'd be like, wow, this was a great lesson. That I could actually do something that I was afraid of. So something like that. Okay. And obviously some service is over our head. And I've seen, disasters created by people. It's just like a person who can't lead kirtan, who's every note is off key and every beat is off beat. Probably better they lead kirtan in closets by themselves. Because it's just, we're not that advanced yet that we can become ecstatic with a kirtan like that. Right? You ever go to a kirtan where a devotee's singing in one key and like right in the middle, he goes to another key, then a minute later goes to another, he had no idea what he's doing. And then he gets off beat and back on beat and back. It's really hard to sing unless you're very Krishna conscious. And so, I'm going to cook and I burn everything. Devotees go hungry. So, practical, yeah. Right. Welcome, Annapurna. Annapurna doesn't get to come that often. And she's still here. Did she have to leave? There she is. Yeah. My chat was covering you. Bonjour, Annapurna. In Mayapur, they must say Annapurna, like that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Annapurna. Ça va? Bien. Something like that? More or less. Un peu. Okay. Olga's question. Do you think? I do not think. It is not my opinion. It is Krishna's opinion. Once they asked Prabhupada, in your opinion, and Prabhupada said, it is not my opinion. But sometimes Prabhupada would say, in my opinion, what did he mean? He says, okay, this is not Krishna's opinion. This is like my political analysis of the world. In my opinion, this is how it's going to be. So if Prabhupada said, in my opinion, that's kind of like, okay, this probably isn't from Shastra. This is not an absolute. But when Prabhupada said, it is not my opinion, it's because it's Krishna's opinion. Do you think, based on your experience, there should be someone senior in every Sangha where devotees communicate? It depends on the Sangha. And it depends on how many seniors are in that general area. Sometimes there are situations where one of the devotees makes a mistake, but in the Sangha, no one is an authority for him. Because of this, the atmosphere and relationships are cracking. Yeah, well. If things are going downhill, something has to be done. What I have seen is that it's not always necessary that there be seniors in the Sangha. They're just necessary that there be seniors in the area. Because if there's not a lot of seniors, then sometimes the education devotees get is incomplete. And they're more prone to misunderstand things or be narrow-minded. So that's That's one observation. Your observation also, I could say yes. If in a situation like that, it seems like maybe there's not a lot of influence of much more mature senior devotees, and therefore there needs to be. As younger devotees ourselves, we are well aware, I am well aware, we are all well aware, that we said and did things which we have regretted having said and done, and have had to apologize to devotees for saying such things because we were young, passionate, and dare I say, pretty stupid. Not entirely stupid, but in terms of human interaction, we were stupid. Emotional intelligence, like minus 108 for a lot of us. Relational intelligence, minus 108 for a lot of us. And so we misused our positions of authority, thinking that, well, whatever, I'm authority, so everything I say is right, everything I do is right, things like that. And just lack of experience. I was thinking, Olga, I was thinking of something yesterday. I always pose myself questions around this idea. Can an atheist be a good person? Can a devotee be a bad person? Ethical question. Okay, what's the Bhakti Shastri answer? Devotee has all good qualities, non-devotee has all bad qualities. But let's put that shloka on the wall for a second and just discuss, have you ever seen a devotee do anything bad? Let me think. Did I ever see a devotee? Let me think. Yeah, I think one time. No, we can write a whole book, right? Isn't it? You could all write a book on bad things you've seen devotees have done, right? Have you ever seen an atheist do something good? Yeah, my father's an atheist. He supports me. He's nice to me. He loves me. It's like, all right, my father's nicer to me than the devotee I live with in the ashram. He's an atheist and she's a devotee, or he's a devotee. So yeah, we've seen that, haven't we? Yeah. So can a good devotee do something bad? Can a good devotee say something wrong? Especially a good young devotee with not much experience, it's pretty unlikely they won't do or say something bad now and again. That's just what we're dealing with. But the more they get senior association and good training, the less likely that is to happen. The less there is senior association and training, the more likely that is to happen. There are other factors also. But my point was, when I was thinking about this, you have atheists, right, who will never divorce. You have atheists who have principles. There's just the culture they were raised in. Even though they're atheists, they have principles. Get married, stick with one wife. So even if a beautiful woman tempts this man, he's an atheist. He's got no absolute spiritual morality, but he's got, from his culture, he learned from his family that you should be chaste and dedicated to one woman, and he does it. And you have a devotee, 16-rounder, 4 principle. Have they ever fallen down? Yes or yes. You're right. Yes, they have. Isn't that interesting? Right? So can a devotee make a mistake? Yes or yes. Can a devotee say the wrong thing? Yes or yes. Now you're all like, I'm not going to class anymore. I'm not listening to anybody because a devotee can make mistakes. So I'm not going to listen. Right? No. But still, it's possible. And so when we see that someone says something and it disturbs relationships in the community, or it's a misunderstanding or misrepresentation of Prabhupada, yeah, that has to be addressed by seniors. It has to be corrected. Because if it's not corrected, it will then become anything which is wrong, which is not corrected, then becomes right later on, because nobody knows it's wrong after a while. Did you know that? That's how it works. If I deviate and nobody corrects it, then that deviation will continue to the point where all the new people who join inherited that deviation and they have no idea what existed before that deviation. And a lot of the people that know what existed before the deviation are so frustrated by the deviation, they left ISKCON. And so now there's nobody left to tell them there's a deviation, except a few senior devotees who get written off as fanatic and conservative and, too old to know, too old and grouchy to listen to. So, Hare Krishna. That does happen. So yes. Anytime you feel something may be wrong, at least approach a senior and say, this doesn't seem right. What do you think? Don't accuse anybody, but say, I'd like to discuss it with you. I think we need help here. Is that okay, Olga? Just don't get yourself kicked out of the temple for doing it and make enemies with the devotee you complained about. You have to be careful and discreet. Or maybe talk to the devotee first. Jai and Vijay were bad devotees. Is there such thing as a bad devotee? Well, if he's bad, how can he be a devotee? It's like they asked Prabhupada, is there such thing as a bad guru? Well, if he's bad, how can he be a guru? Okay. Sotomayi says, how not to offend devotees if we see, for example, that he cannot sing kirtan? How to say it nice. Just Sotomayi, if I know how to say it nicely, I tell you, because I've offended so many devotees in kirtans. Just the other day, this devotee was reminding me how he said he was playing kartals really poorly, and he said, can you teach me kartals? I said, Prabhu, I think in this lifetime, you shouldn't play kartals. Oh, it's kind of a curse to Sotomayi if you're in the Hare Krishna movement and you're a musician, because you're going to hear a lot of croaking and a lot of offbeat kirtans and, of sincere devotees. It's just, it's just a curse. I don't know how to do it because I can't, and if I tell you how to do it, I wouldn't feel right because I don't know how to do it. Sometimes I just tolerate. Sometimes when someone's singing off key, I could just say, Prabhu, you're singing off key. Can you sing quietly? But they get offended. And I don't know if you have this experience, just Sotomayi, but Krishna plays tricks on me because sometimes, I sit down to do a kirtan and I'm thinking, I want to make this kirtan really beautiful, like musically really nice, sing really nice and everything nice. And then Krishna always sends like 3 people who can't clap, who love to clap. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. I don't even know how to clap like that. That's like, I don't know, jazz or something, like totally off key. And someone else to like sit next to me who sings off key. And it happens all the time. I'm like, okay, Krishna, I get the message. Just like, it's the holy name. Just be absorbed. It happens. It's happened enough that it was clear Krishna was arranging. He flies people in from around the universe to clap and sing off beat just to purify Mahatma Das. So if I knew how to kindly correct them, I would tell you, but I don't. And my latest strategy is just like, oh, okay, Krishna, you want me to tolerate this, right? Oh, yeah, okay. Hare Krishna. So that's my answer. I don't know if it was a good answer, but it was an answer. Hare Krishna. So we have officially ended class, and we're going to officially start japa. That's the beautiful thing about japa. It doesn't matter